To be asked. Final score from Toronto. It's Canada 2, Guadeloupe 2 in the Gold Cup.
Well, that was a roller coaster of emotions there between Canada and Guadeloupe as we welcome you back inside our One Soccer studio. Andy Petrillo alongside Jordan Wilson. And now they faced Guadeloupe 3 times, all time, and it's across the board. 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw. All the times that they have faced them have been in the Gold Cup. We do see 2 own goals in this one. Christian Jack is inside BMO Field. And a bit of a shocker there, KJ, with that late goal by Guadeloupe to get the draw. This tournament, by the way, started with the draw. USA-Jamaica playing to 1-1. Now we see our second draw of the tournament, 2-2 here tonight. What did you make of the match?
Well, I think Guadeloupe deserved the point. I mean, I think that they would have been very unfortunate to not get what they wanted to get out of the game. You know, in the end, they got the unlucky goal that looked like it was going to get Canada over the line when Larea, to be fair, fortune favored the Brave, got in between the 2 defenders and caused that problem for them for the 2-1 goal. And then every credit to Guadeloupe. I thought their changes were excellent. I thought Anglemar managed the game marvelously. I thought he really had the team fired up for it. He understood that there would be a response with the rise in tempo from Canada in the second half, which they needed to do. And Canada certainly came out the gate well. I still thought Canada lost a little bit of momentum when Hoylett went off. We know he couldn't play 90 minutes, but he was really the talisman from an attacking point of view. And overall, Jordan, I thought it was quite a disjointed performance from Canada, which I suppose with a lot of new faces we should lean to expect. But, you know, this team was just booed off here at BMO Field, and that's what Canada expects now. They should be expected to beat teams like Guadeloupe, and they weren't able to do that.
Yeah, they weren't, and we expect better. Looking at the squad, the quality that they have, I know there's a lot of new faces, but I think some of those new faces and Ali Ahmed stepped up tonight, and we can see the quality within this squad. But look, this was a game of 2 halves, Andy. First half was a bit dormant, not the same Canada that we're used to, but second half came out guns blazing, which we grow to love with this side in terms of throwing bodies forward. Even when you see with the goal with Larea bombing forward, getting into attacking positions as a wingback. This is what they interchange. They move forward. I would have loved to see Hoylett, maybe if he could have gone 10 minutes, but you never know between manager and player if he had the legs or if he wants to be cautious because it is the first game of a tournament. But he was the difference maker and just brought a lot of life to this squad. It's unfortunate not to get the 3 points when you're up 2-1 in the dying minutes of a game. I think that's the time where you got to shift your mind, shift your focus, and really focus on ending the game as opposed to just surviving in those moments. I think that Canada, that was a missed opportunity because they were that close to maybe not getting it right on the day, but still getting 3 points.
Obviously, KJ, you're right there in the mix, but did I hear you correctly near the tail end there? Were they booed once the final whistle went?
Yeah, they were booed off the field. You know, the final whistle went and there's a large booing here from the fans. You know, ultimately there's an expectation that they want to win the game, right? You know, so, you know, as I said, just over 15,000 here tonight at BMO Field, and they're not expecting to come here and see Canada not win a game like that. And again, you know, look, we have to say, international football, you know, the opposition, you can be very close. You know, we've seen it all around the world. You should not be expected to just dominate teams. But no one came here tonight expecting Canada not to win the game. Nobody, except Guadeloupe. And they played like they expected to get something out of the game, and they deserved it. You know, we have to say that they got that fortunate goal at the end, but how did they get it? They got it through directness and from going and blowing past 2 regular defenders for Canada in Kamal Miller and Stephen Vittoria that led to the goal. That was a big opportunity for Guadeloupe that took advantage of those 2 defenders. In the end, Vittoria had to concede the yellow card just to get that, the momentum killed off at that moment. So it was a struggle, undoubtedly a struggle for Canada, and a bit of a wake-up call that this tournament's not going to be an easy one.
No, definitely not. And I wonder how much you do look at, so Kamal Miller, Stephen Vittoria, these are players who have played a lot for Canada. We know they were just in the Concacaf Nations League final. I wonder, you know, how much stock do you put into them being tired? And that's not, I mean, there are excuses and then there are reasons. Where would you put my comment there? What category would you put that under?
Yeah, it's borderline. I think obviously at this point where most players, if you're playing in Europe or whatnot, this is your break. MLS season as well, you get some breaks. But when you're playing for Canada, I just think that should be the extra boost that you need. This is not something where it happens every day. Players are asked, hey, we want to play more games. So I think in these moments when it's the 94th minute, that's when you roll up your sleeves and you make sure that you take care of these moments. And these details, these fine details, win, lose, draw, those are the difference. So when I look at that last play, it's just like Guadalupe got into an area where they wanted to take advantage. And Victoria is a seasoned vet who's just in Qatar. I don't want to knock his performance, but I just think in those areas, Canada, we need to be better. If we're going to talk about being a football nation and getting to another World Cup and doing well at that World Cup, you got to clean up those situations, clean up those plays, and make sure that you're your best self. Yeah, and strangely enough here, KJ, we're obviously highlighting the veterans where it feels like they got turned around a little bit. And, you know, Victoria, we talked about that Ambrose goal, that first one as well, that Guadalupe was able to score. But does this also highlight how important it is to get those young players in the mix, to give them more playing time?
Yeah, absolutely it does. You know, I love to see, you know, Jason Russell-Rogan on the field. I think he's had a terrific season, and he looks like a player that I think can be, you know, one of the next great wave of young players for this country. He's got tremendous pace, and, you know, that's a real shame that he was involved in that difficult goal there at the end where, you know, obviously he just tries to clear that cross. He will have a bright, promising future for Canada. I know the players are going to take the opportunities to do that, right? But, you know, Bombito in midfield, I think the game got a little bit too big for him in the second half, not necessarily a position that he's familiar with him playing in that position either. And, you know, again, the question marks about the depth will be there for Canada, and they need to get those opportunities to be able to get those minutes to play. But, you know, I think the biggest storyline for me overall, Andy, is the loss of momentum. You know, there was an opportunity here to just start to turn away from the disappointment of the Nations League, which was a disappointment, and start to gain some momentum going forward and bring that winning mentality back, because let's be honest, it hasn't been a great year for this team, and it's been a while now since they decided to not play that game in Vancouver and then go on to have difficult moments on and off the pitch. And it's a team, an organization that needs some positivity, and it was a difficult one to get that tonight, not necessarily one that they'll be very happy with.
All right, great stuff, KJ. We'll let you go. Obviously, there is some post-game reaction to gather. We have some of that right now as we do say goodbye to Christian Jack inside BMO Field. Let's hear from Richie Larea.
Richie, you go ahead on an own goal. The game ends as a draw on an own goal. Is it as simple as that? Football can be a game of bounces and bad breaks sometimes?
Yeah, obviously it can be like that. I think we showed the strength of our squad today. A lot of the guys that didn't have caps stepped up and did a really good job. So, yeah, obviously a little unfortunate for us, and we'll get ready for the next game.
Want to build on that. I think Ali Ahmad, amongst other people, really impressed tonight. Just with training and everything this week, trying to incorporate these young guys into the team. You see 3 of them get the start for the first time. What did you make of their Canadian national team debuts?
Yeah, all of them did really well, honestly. I think as a group, as some of the veterans guys we spoke in the huddle over there, we're very proud of those guys to be able to step up and play games like this. They're tough. This national team's in a different light right now, so coming in and playing here, it is tough, and they all did a really good job. So, yeah, credit to them.
Lastly, I know you guys wanted to leave BMO, the only match here in Canada, with the result. The crowd was great tonight, but how do you pick yourselves back up? You play again on Saturday against Guatemala in Houston.
Yeah, it's easy. We want to progress in this tournament. We speak about winning it. We want to win it. So it's all about winning for the next couple of games and going from there and kicking on.
Thank you, Richie.
All right, that's right. They turn their attention to Canada Day, July 1st, as the group stage continues right here on One Soccer. Let's get to our Allstate save of the match. This is when it was still goalless in the game. 15th minute. As we know, Ambrose would go ahead and score in the 23rd minute. But big save here by Milan Borjan. We know as well, Jordan, that first goal, slipping on it, right? Yeah, for sure. This is a huge save. He's patient. He's big on his line. Big bump there, and then does enough to also put pressure for the header. Big save from the big man. All right, there you go. Milan Borjan also wearing the captain's armband in this one. So we've been talking about it. Canada down 1-0. They managed to take the 2-1 lead. Ultimately, though, Guadalupe getting that stoppage time goal. 2-2, your final here tonight inside BMO Field. When we come back here on One Soccer, we'll continue to break down this game. We'll look at those goals, and we'll do so with Jimmy Brennan. He joins us back in studio. Stay with us.
are exactly what these players are after. This is a big moment.
This is ours.
An opportunity at the highest stage. Oh, it's beautiful. Looks in a dangerous ball, and there's DK. The expectation, anticipation.
The Concacaf Gold Cup takes the stage.
Gatorade, with electrolytes to help replenish what's lost in sweat, carbs to help fuel your working muscles, and fluids to help you hydrate. Scientifically formulated so you never stop competing.
I do this for my town, my time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. Gatorade.
Thank you, Canada, for making dreams come true. We're with you all the way.
Here are your full-time stats. So Canada with plenty of chances, as you can see, 17 shots, 5 on target, 56% possession. I mean, Guadalupe, though, was definitely able to carry the momentum in their favor, which is why they got that goal in stoppage time. 2-2 your final. What does John Herdman have to say about the result?
John just spoke to Richie about it. I'll ask you the same question. Obviously not the result you guys wanted, but you go ahead on an own goal. The game ends as a draw on an own goal. Is it as simple as football as a game of bounces sometimes?
I mean, we're disappointed at home. We want to get 3 points at home. But happy with some of the performances tonight. I thought, you know, those players that were asked to come in and take that moment, Bombito, and particularly Ali and Zach McGraw, I think they showed they can fit here and they can play here. And we're going to grow through this tournament. I mean, last 5 minutes, we should be sealing that up. I'm not sure we needed to even put ourselves in that position, but that's football. And to be fair to them, they were always in the game. They had that little bit of quality, we knew that. But I think this team showed enough tonight to show that they'll regroup. I was proud of their resilience to come back after a goal down. They didn't crack. And just gutted for the fans that we couldn't celebrate the result.
Obviously going to Houston for Guatemala next on Saturday. Is it better to have a little bit of adversity early in the tournament rather than at the end, I suppose?
Look, you need the adversity, and I've said to these lads that this is going to make the team. This is what you've got to build through the tournament. We've got to be tested. We've got to have a goal down, come back. We've got to have those clunky moments where tactically it's not fitting, but we keep going, and I thought they pushed through tonight. Guatemala's going to be tough in Houston. I mean, Gold Cups are pretty tough, and it's teams that stick together, and I think they will tonight. I could sense they were gutted at the end there. They knew they had 3 points in the bag and give it away, but we'll learn from that and we'll move on. We've got to get 3 points next game.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Obviously not the way they wanted to start, but the tournament has just begun. Still plenty more to go. Andy, Jimmy, Jordan still with you. Let's go through the goals now in this one. 4 in total. Guadalupe scoring first in the 23rd minute. Ambrose was just a killer in that first half, Jimmy.
Yeah, he was. I thought he had a very, very good first half. Difficult to mark. It's because he's jinxy as well at times. Here, Vittoria, he just reads it wrong. He gets carried away, gets on the wrong side of the man. And just as he chops to come back inside, you can see here Boran slips, and that allows Ambrose just to slide in under the keeper. But here, this is the most disappointing part. It's right there with Vittoria. Where's he going? Stay inside. Keep the man outside. He's already outside of you. There's no need to come across him.
Yeah, that was a tough one, but at least the Canadians managed to stop the bleeding for the rest of the first half, and then they come out in the second half, look like a completely different team. They do get on the board. Lucas Cavallini scores.
Great goal, great goal. So many things to break down, so many things that I enjoyed about it. Hoylett as well, this pass. We just got to talk about Cavallini. Big frame. He's able to hold up the ball, and you want to see, and I ask strikers, number 9s, to just get in that area where you can score goals. Here, Windsor used his size, but look, plays a great ball, but watch him on the top of the screen. Desire to get into that area, and then that outside of foot pass by Hoylett. That's just different class. But if you see here, Cavallini, as he plays, he's onside for everyone at home wants to know. He gets that little extra yard, boom. See Cavallini, then also splits between 2 Guadeloupe defenders and just gets into that area, and you know when you get in that 6, Jimmy. That's just a nice tap in.
Yeah, it was a great goal. Great ball by Junior, though. And when he gets his heads up, makes eye contact, doesn't he, with Cavallini. He knows exactly where that run is, how he's going to play. It's just that inviting ball in behind the back. And Cavallini's not missing from there.
No, and Cavallini has been relied upon to score goals for Canada, maybe more so in the past because of the emergence of David and Davies and Laren. But with that goal, he now moves 4th all time. This is someone who we know Herdman has been using tonight. He gets the start, but he has been using him off the bench, an impact player, to come on in and cause some havoc in the opposition area. And tonight, he does get that goal. So there you go. Not too bad. Dwayne De Rosario, by the way, in 2011 Gold Cup, when Canada did win against Guadeloupe, he was the one who scored the goal on that night. Let's go to the next goal here. Own goal by Guadeloupe, but I always say own goals are created by the other team. And this is where you have to say Ali Ahmed, Richie Larea looking good.
Yeah, I thought they were very good, Larea and Ahmed. Ahmed really, really impressed me. This is what I love. Once you get 1v1, make something happen. Be creative in that final third. There he links up play well. And what a perfect pass that is into Larea. He sees Larea coming across the line. But just that, and Brim, just playing that ball. And then obviously they get a little bit of fortune there. But, I mean, look, if Ahmed doesn't come inside here and try to make something happen, link up play, but just outside the boot into Larea. But that's Larea, and that's what he does best as well. He loves running across that line and getting in behind. And you've got to do that to get rewarded and get a little bit of luck sometimes, in which they did.
You'll get rewarded when your wingback ends up being the highest player forward for Canada. At that point, Richie was going, and he kept going, and he ended up being in that position to kind of put a bit of pressure. But Ahmed, you also see him too, when he does a little flick, like he's like, oh, I put too much on it, but it ends up being a good pass. Yeah. So always believe in your sauce. Even if it goes a bit too far, think, hey, this is what I intended to do. Got to be lucky to be good, good to be lucky. And Guadeloupe, though, obviously was saying that mantra as well, because in stoppage time here, just when the fans and just when we here in studio thought we were going to be talking about a Canada win, they played right until the whistle, and this ends up being an own goal. Tough as well, because it's with a young guy, Jimmy, so you have to imagine, I mean, we always knew this was going to be a bit of a different tournament with John Herdman having to also be more of a guidance to, and, you know, for the younger players, even some of the veteran players have to do that as well, because I can only imagine what this conversation is going to go like.
Of course. Look, for me, you know, you always say in the last few minutes of the match, the last thing to do is give away a foul in and around your box. And you know it's going to be dangerous. That ball comes in, it's a little flick on, the player drives it back across the box. Look, Russell Rowe, he's unlucky. What else are you meant to do? He's just trying to get something on it. And obviously a couple players lose a runner, and it's a known goal.
That's the most dangerous position to be in as a defender or a defensive player. That ball's driven across and you're facing your own goal. That's why managers, you say, wrap your foot around it, because anything could happen. You put it hard and low across. He just ends up being in the wrong position in terms of his body not facing an area. He's facing his goal. That's where the ball ends up.
And he's right, because every time you're telling players, whip it across the back line or drive it across goal, what ends up happening is their defenders are now facing goal, which makes it very, very awkward to defend. And Russell Rowe's thinking, what do I do here? Do I have a little slide? Maybe I try to get a little something on it. And unfortunate for him, it's come off his leg and gone into the back of the net. I mean, he's going to be heartbroken after that.
And you don't know who's behind you. Like, he has no choice but to kind of stick his foot. He leaves it, they probably score anyway. So you almost think in your mind, when as soon as the ball comes across, you got to react. Yeah. And in that split second, sometimes you make the wrong decision.
It's an instinct reaction.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It really is a tough one, that's for sure. If you are hardcore Canadian footy fans and you want to watch the Canadian Premier League, because quite a few of these players have been called up to the national team. In fact, tonight we saw Dominic Zator get into this match, making his debut. First CPL graduate to play in a competitive match for Canada. Joel Waterman's played, but that was in a friendly. So yeah, that's right. You want to watch the Canadian Premier League this weekend here on One Soccer. We're going to continue to break down this match 2-2 between Canada and Guadeloupe in the city of Toronto. Adam Jenkins, Christian Jack, they are inside BMO Field. Let's continue to talk about this one before they get back at it on Saturday against Guatemala.
It looks like we're headed towards
and many people's dreams of owning a home.
What's keeping you up at night?
I'm kind of stressed about my money situation.
Oof, it's stressful to talk about.
Oscar, come here.
Here's your financial stress companion.
She definitely helps. It's never too late to start. Good portfolio. Back with saving for my first down payment.
To play. It's something that's in us from the very beginning, and something we take with us on every step of the journey. When we have no words, it gives us a way to speak. When we are still finding our way in the world, it gives us somewhere to belong. And no matter who we are or where we come from, it gives us the right to dream.
Christine Sinclair as she scores at her 5th World Cup. Alfonso Davies!
It's time to celebrate the game we love. It's time to play.
Degree 72-hour non-stop protection. Antiperspirant with motion sense. Tested to the limit. Degree keeps working when others stop.
The birthdays of Canada and the United States with us here on One Soccer. Yeah, that's right. Canada is playing on July 1st. They take on Guatemala. Then on July 4th, they play Cuba. Tonight against Guadalupe, they kicked off their Gold Cup campaign with a 2-2 draw. Adam Jenkins, Christian Jack inside BMO Field. Give us your final impressions, gentlemen.
Thank you, Andy. Yes, KJ and AJ to tie a bow on this one. Christian, you've been around this sport long enough. You've been around Concacaf long enough to know that sometimes it's weird, it's wacky. The flag of France is flying at BMO Field. La Marseillaise played as the national anthem for Guadeloupe before the game. Few people in Canada could probably point to Guadeloupe on a map. It's about 300,000 people in a land area around the size of Los Angeles. But even coming into this game, KJ, John Herdman was trying to not plant seeds of doubt, but it was to be mindful that this wasn't a side that was just going to roll over and die. Now Canada has beat this side, they've lost to this side, and they have drawn this side in the Gold Cup in 3 matches. But it would be silly to not suggest or admit that the supporters here, the supporters watching at home, are not happy with that performance tonight because it's a match you'd expect to win. What was it about this opportunity that feels like it was the biggest miss for Canada?
Well, I think quite a few things, Adam. I think, you know, where they arrived to this game in terms of coming off the disappointment of the Nations League final, this constant noise in the media about other things, an agenda and things being sent out there. It was an opportunity to move on from that and to get what I think 15,000 hard-earned money was paid tonight, want to talk about, which is what we're here to talk about, which is on-field football, an opportunity to move on and get 3 points. So all of those are missed opportunities. No, I think there's a bit of a concern for me that in a wide open game of football, they were exploited. And I think the defense is concerning. You know, ultimately there was a lot of changes, I understand that. But if a team feels like they can attack Canada and play a wide open style, we're starting to see significant holes and significant concerns that were not there during the World Cup qualifying run, which is now over a year ago. Things move on. And I think that's an opportunity that Canada needs to work on quickly, and other oppositions will certainly highlight.
We're going to have lots to talk about when it comes to Guatemala at the weekend, but thinking ahead of what John could do tactically, it would be silly to think that they're going to roll much of the similar team here. Right. I think a lot of people are wondering if we will see someone other than Milan Borjan in goal amongst others. Do you think that's the right decision to maybe give Dane Sinclair a run?
I really hope so. Milan Boyan, again, terrific saves tonight. A fantastic servant, a tremendous leader for this country, but wasn't involved in the last World Cup, and I think that was an opportunity where Max Crepeau took the gloves and really showed that Canada can rely on him when they needed him to be, and they relied upon him. That helped Max Crepeau get a big move to Los Angeles. Dane Sinclair is ready to play for this country. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to play every game. The other thing I like about Dane is that he's very composed with his feet, and I'd like a goalkeeper to come out a little bit more and just start to play and just start to bring the defenders in a little bit more and play from the back. And I think, you know, I know Bombito played well tonight, but I think that having that in midfield instead of having it at the back, I think they lost a little bit of composure and ability to play through the lines from that position. So yeah, I think it's a really good point, Adam. I think Dane Sinclair is ready to play and should play, and hopefully we see minutes in this Gold Cup for him.
Well, when I spoke to John Herdman just after the game, he told me it's better to have a little bit of adversity at the beginning of the tournament than the end.
It's not how you start, it's how you finish.
It is how you finish, but Canada must finish strong in this group, and it starts with Guatemala on Saturday. Andy?
Very true, Jenkins. In Guatemala, Cuba playing right now. They just started their match. They're about 10 minutes in. No score so far in that one. Are you hitting the panic button then, or what is it that you want to see Canada adjust for their next game?
No, I'm not hitting the panic button. I mean, look, it's the first game of the tournament. They've got a point, so they're on the board. But what they have to do is they've got to bring those energy levels that they showed in the second half, and it's got to be for 90 minutes. It took them a while to get going. I thought in the first half it was a little bit slow, the tempo, the movement. There wasn't too much of a rhythm. Second half, they had that urgency and that work rate. And I thought they needed to bring that in the first half. And then when you do go up 2-1 or whatever it is, you've got to punish teams. You have to see them off. And I thought Junior Hoyle, I thought he was playing brilliant, so it confused me a little bit as to why he came off, because I thought he was just starting to get into the game. He was making things happen. I liked the way Miller was playing as well. And then Larea coming off, who was one of your best defenders in the last few minutes of a match. I thought maybe let him finish it. Let your defenders finish that game, because they were in a good spot. But for me, it's got to be that work rate. It's got to be for 90 minutes going into this next match.
Yeah, quickly, I'll just say the waves of the game got to take care of. When it's time to defend, you saw the last play with Vittoria and Miller. That's the time to clean a guy, get the ball, or not foul. Understand that you're up 2-1, but when it's time to go and press, like Gaff said, to go forward, punish teams, make it count.
Understanding the situation, that's for sure. But to your point, they do get a point here. You'll see how the other two teams do. As I mentioned, USA, Jamaica, they started this whole tournament off with a 1-1 draw. I don't think anyone's going to be counting those teams out either, so why count out Canada? They're going to show us the goods once again against Guatemala on Saturday. All of the action will be right here on One Soccer. You've been watching Matchday Live, presented by CIBC. It's the 2023 Gold Cup. See you on Canada Day, everyone.
To play. It's something that's in us from the very beginning, and something we take with us on every step of the journey. When we have no words, it gives us a way to speak. When we are still finding